Hey everyone, welcome to the Data Monk. In today's video, we are going to discuss some of the SQL objective questions which has been asked in your interviews. There are a lot of companies who take your uh, objective test before you sit for an interview. So we are going to target specifically SQL in this particular video. We'll be discussing most of the questions which has been asked in your interviews, as well as in interview exams basically, as well as some of the uh, competitive exams that composite competitive exams like gate, if you say. So, without wasting any time, let's get started with it, and we'll try to solve each and every question. If you haven't watched our SQL playlist before, I suggest that you just go through the playlist one, so you have an idea, and then this particular video can act as a revision for you basically. So. We'll be learning new things here in the video as well as revising the old previous things that we learned in our SQL playlist, wherein we covered almost every question which has been asked in interview. So it will be a mix of previous knowledge and new knowledge. So yeah, let's get started with it. Here on the screen, we have our first question, all right, which says, our question number one, which of the following do you need to consider when you make a SQL table? So you use the create command in SQL to create any table, and then you describe its schema, and then you insert the values. So it is basically asking that what among these is uh, necessary. Which of the following do you need to consider when you make a table in SQL? Just to mention, this could be uh, these are objective questions, but the answer could be one value. It could be one option. It could be two option. It could be like multiple options as well. It could be single options as well. So in this particular question, we need to see that which of the following we need to consider when making a table. So do we need to consider primary key? That is our option number A. I think yes, we need to consider primary key whenever we are making a tables, because after that, when you are making another table, or when you are linking your this table to some other table, or even if it is to fetch a particular tuple in your table, it is important that you define the primary key. So option A would be correct. We need that, we consider this to make a table in SQL. Then our option B is default value. So default value, obviously you need to, while creating a table, you obviously need to mention the default value, because otherwise it nothing will be shown. It will be shown null in the table itself. So if you have a default value with you, you need to define it while you are creating a table. So that is correct. Then we have option number C, that is data type. So you definitely know that data mentioning data type while writing your attributes is pretty important. So whatever attribute that you are adding, if, for example, if you're adding salary, so you need to mention that integer. If you're adding name, if you're adding the name attribute, it is important for you to mention text. So yeah, mentioning data type is equally important when you are considering to make a table in SQL. And option last is auto increment. So auto increment is basically when you are using serial numbers and you want the numbers to increase automatically without inserting the values one by one. So it is a good function that you can use while creating a table, but it is not necessary, right? What if you don't have a sequence number only in the table that you're creating, or like it is not that without this your table won't be created, right? It is a good thing to have auto increment, but it is not necessary. So, according to me, the answer for this particular question should be primary key, default value, and data type. So, these three options would be correct for us to this particular question. This is multiple options are correct in this particular question. If this would have been which of the following you wouldn't consider, then the answer would be auto increment, just auto increment. So the answer for our question one is primary key, default value, and data type. All right. So I hope this was clear. This is like just the basic. The people who just take your interviews, they actually just need to, judge you that how much of your basics are clear, and for that all they can do is modify the questions a bit, change the words here and there, and that is all that could be done. But if you have your basics clear, no matter from where that particular question is coming, you'll definitely be able to answer that, right? Moving ahead to our question number 2. Okay, so we have a question with us which says find the SQL statement below that is equal to the following. So we need to find an SQL statement which is equal to select name from employee where state is equal to DEL. Okay, so we have from the particular query, you can guess that we have a table employee wherein we have an attribute state and it has some value del. Alright, so you need to find an equivalent query to this. Select name from employer where state is equal to del. So we have our option number 1. Let's say select name in employee where state in del. So this particular query wouldn't be correct, as you can guess, because you won't say select name in employee. This should be from employee. So you can directly reject this particular option. All right, moving ahead to our second option that we have, select name in employee where state is equal to. So here they're not repeating in twice, but again you won't choose it from, sorry, you won't write in here, you need to mention the from clause here. Now we have next two options, C and D. Now if you see, select name from employee, that is correct. Select name from employee, that is correct. Now it says where state is equal to Delhi, right? And then we have where state in Delhi. So obviously that would be incorrect. We don't have Delhi as an option. It is DEL, right? So this again we'll reject this, and we are left with our last option which says select name from employee where state in DEL. I think this looks absolutely perfect. So we basically use the in operator when we are looking for a particular expression in list of values. Here our list only has one value, still we can use the in operator. It is not necessarily required here, but it is not wrong either. And I guess from all these options that we have above, this is the most uh, suitable option that we have, which is equivalent to our statement query that has been given in the question. The negation for in operator is basically not in, which is basically used to see if the expression is not present in the list. So here in this question, they are particularly judging that how you know that if you know how to use your in operator. And I think you would have guessed it very easily, because you are not using in employee, or again you're not using in employee. So the first two options are already cancelled. Option number C has Delhi, which is not mentioned here, so you'll already obviously cancel this as well. And then you are left with the last query, that is select name from employee where state in DEL, right? Here we have used the in operator. We have understood the concept of in operator. All right, let's move ahead to our next question. Our question number 3. which says that which of the following statements are true about an SQL query. So we are given PQRS, we are given four statements, and we need to see which of the following is true about an SQL query. So P clause says that an SQL query can contain a having clause even if it does not have a group by clause. So, if you have watched our video wherein we have discussed the difference between where and having clause, uh, if you remember, it was about using with which particular clause you can use your aggregate functions, but it was nothing about using the group by clause. You can definitely use the group by clause, but it is not necessary to use the group by clause when you are using the having clause. So I think the first statement should be correct, that an SQL query can contain a having clause even if it does not have a group by clause. Our next Q statement says that an SQL query can contain a having clause only if it has a group by clause. So these two statements are basically contradicting each other. But as I said, it is not necessary to use group by clause, so you can directly reject this statement because we are going with the P statement this time, because it says that you do not have to use group by clause whenever you are using the having clause. Then we are coming to the statement R, which says that all attributes used in the group by clause must appear in the select clause. So, is that necessary? It is not necessary. Select clause is basically used to, select the fields that you want to display, and group by is used that how do you want to group your data. It is not necessary for you to group all the records that you are, displaying in your table. So I think this should also be rejected, because it is not compulsory for us to use all the attributes used in group by and in the select clause. So we have our S statement, which says the opposite, that is, not all attributes used in the group by clause need to appear in the select clause. I think this is absolutely correct, because we it's not necessary to have select and group by attributes same. You can have different attributes for select, but yeah, the attributes that you are using in select will be used in the group by clause, but it's not necessary to use all of them, right? So I think our statement P and our statement S is absolutely correct. So the option for that is option number B, which is P and S. So we can use the having clause with aggregate functions. Oh, sorry. So this is the answer for it. We have P and S as our answer to that, and we can use as I was saying, we can use having clause with aggregate functions, uh, and with group by. Otherwise it will be applied to all the rows that is satisfies the search condition. So if you consider this P statement, that is what I'm trying to say, that is what I said earlier, that otherwise it will be applied to all the rows that satisfies the search condition. That is why the Q option is incorrect and P is correct. All right, let us move ahead to our question number 4, right? Okay, this looks like a easy question that we have. So, which of the following, question number 4 is, which of the following is not a DDL command? DDL, I hope you know, it stands for data definition language. In SQL, it is divided into three sub languages, that is DDL, DML, data manipulation language, DCL, that is data control language. So you need to, it is very important that before you sit for any interview, you should have a basic understanding of all these three languages with examples. So you need to know that which particular clause comes under which category. So, just a brief definition. So, DDL is our data definition language. They are used to basically create and modify the structure of that database that we have. So, let us see the options that we are having here. First is update. Okay, first is update. So this is basically our DML command which is used to update existing records within a table. Alright, so this is a DML command, and I think so this could be one of the option that we are looking for. Then we have alter. So alter is basically used to alter existing database, and because if you see we are changing the definition of the query, so alter is a DDL command. Then we have truncate, which is also a DDL command which will remove records from the table. And then we have create, which is again a DDL command which is used to create an object. So these are data definition languages because they are basically defining your data. You're creating something, you're altering something. Your truncate is basically removing or deleting something. But this update is basically data manipulation because you're not adding something new to it. You are just updating the existing records. You are just making modifications to the existing record. So this update statement will come under our DML language. DML, right? Not DML language, it will come under DML. So our question which says which is not a DDL command, so the or answer to that will be option number A, which is update, because that is our DML command. All right, let's move ahead. Coming to our question number 5 that we have, which says which data type can store unstructured data in a column. So we need to find the data type which can store unstructured data in a column. So let us start with talking about unstructured data type. Now we know that car, it stores character values, right? We know that varchar, it basically store variable string data. Numeric, it stores only numeric value. And then we have raw. So raw is basically used to store variable length binary data. All right, and we cannot manipulate it, but you can store variable length binary data. So talking about unstructured data types, such data types don't have a predefined structure. So it's not specific what data type we are exactly talking about. The data is stored in its native format only, and then we use various methods and tools to analyze the data. So that is what is our unstructured data type. And according to the definition, if you see, raw data type, it can be queried. So in this case, I think this should be our answer because it uses to store variable length binary data. So varchar, we are specific, we know it stores your variable string data. Car, it stores your character values. Numeric, we know it stores your numerical values. But raw, it stores your variable length binary data. So the answer for this particular question, that is data type with unstructured data, will be the option number C, that is raw. All right, so let's move ahead. I hope you are with me in this video and you are learning new things side by side, because I'm not just trying to solve the question. If you are not aware of a particular concept, I'm trying to explain that concept as well. So it could be as your revision video, or this could be as you can even learn things. If you're not aware of these things, I'm trying to discuss all the options that are given in the question. We are not only finding the correct answer, we are finding that why other options are not our answers, right? So I hope you are with me in it. Let's move to our next question, which is our question number 6. All right, so the question says that select round 65.726 comma minus 1 as round value. So we need to tell what this particular command, particular query is going to print. So basically we are using the round function here, and we have four options: 65, 726, 70, and option number C is illegal, that this particular query won't work. So first let us talk about the round function that we have in SQL. So the round function is SQL rounds the given number to a specified number of decimal places. So basically our round function has three parameters. First is your number, right? The number that is given to us. So it is the number that we are going to round. The number that is going to be rounded is your first parameter. Then your second parameter is the decimals. So number of decimal places you want to round the number is your second parameter. And the third parameter is basically your operation. It is optional, it is not mandatory to have in your round function. These first two parameters are mandatory. If you're not mentioning the second parameter, it will be automatically set to 0. That is, you want to have 0 decimal places to round the number to. But the third parameter, that is your operation, it is optional, and it rounds the result to the number of decimal. So now if you see here, we have -1. So the result will be from left of decimal point up to 1, right? So obviously the round for this particular 65, if you use 65, if you want to find the round for that, and we are going from left side here to the first decimal place because -1 is mentioned here. So 65 is the incorrect answer, 726 is also incorrect, 70 is the right answer, because 65, if you'll round it, it will come out to be 70, as it is as the number is less than equal to 5. If you know the concept for that uh, basic round rules that we have. And obviously option D will also be rejected, that is illegal, because definitely this command will be executed, and the answer to that will be option number C, that is 70. So you need to consider your number to be rounded and the decimal place, and accordingly you can find the answer. Because this is negative value, that is why we are going from the left side. All right, so this was our question number 6 that we had. Let's move ahead to our question number 7. So, our question number 7 is, we need to choose the command to change first name from Sarah to Sarah in employee table. So, this is like, I think a lot of people face this problem, that people are not able to pronounce their name correctly or spell their name correctly. And I think the person who was writing this commands messed up, and instead of Sarah he wrote Sarah. So we need to correct that. It is okay, people make mistakes, that is fine. And SQL give us the power to change the data from our existing records, and we are going to use that power very wisely. So yeah, jokes apart, if you see, we need to change first name from Sarah to Sarah in employee table, right? So these are the four options that are given to us. Before we start to go by each of the options, I would want you to understand that what is basically the difference between update and modify command, because that is what I am able to see here in this particular question, that is update and modify commands. So modify command will basically make modifications if the record exists, and if not, it will create a new record and insert the value, right? So it doesn't matter for the modify command if the record exists or not. If it doesn't exist, it will automatically create a new record for us and insert the value. While the update command will only modify the existing record. So first of all, the thing that you should, whenever you are approaching a question, just try this elimination thing. Before finding the correct answer, try eliminating the incorrect answers. So now here in this case, if you see, uh, we need to modify our existing record. So we are obviously going to use the update command. Why would we would use the modify command? We already have our employee table and we just need to change the value from Sarah. So the option number B and C, you're automatically going to reject them. You're not even going to see them because you don't need the modify command here. You need the update command here, update clause here. So let us see our option number 1 and option number 4. That is option A, which says update employees set first name is equal to Sarah into first name is equal to Sarah. So in this particular clause, if you see, our the first mistake is the table name, that is employees. The name of our table is employee and not employees. This will throw an error. Coming on to, I don't think so. This is a valid command wherein you are saying set first name Sarah into first name Sarah. This is not how you use your into command. Let us come to the next options that we have. B, we have already rejected because it is using the modifier clause. C, we have already rejected because it is using the modifier clause. Coming back to our last and only option that we have, which says update employee, correct, set first name is equal to Sarah, where first name is equal to Sarah. So basically it is saying that where wherever there the first name is Sarah, set that first name is equal to Sarah, that is Sara. I'm sorry because there's a little confusion between what I'm talking about, but I hope you can see this on the screen. And you see we are changing Sarah to Sarah, right? So the correct option for this particular question would be option number D, which says update employee set first name is equal to Sarah, where first name is equal to Sarah. So where we are basically considering the where clause and update clause here. Update, set and where clause actually. So you should, if you know the basic usage of these three particular clauses, you're good to go. It won't take a minute to answer this question, right? Let us move to our next question, which is question number 8. All right. So our question is, what is the difference between a primary key and a unique key? Okay, let us see. We have option A, which says primary key cannot be a date variable, whereas unique key can be. I don't think so. This is a valid argument because primary key cannot be a date variable. That is okay. Whereas unique key can be. See, primary key and unique keys are basically not that different, but yeah, there's a one particular difference that you need to know. But option A isn't that difference. Moving ahead to option number B, which says primary key can store null value, whereas a unique key cannot store null value. Yeah, so this is basically the actual difference between primary key and unique key is the concept that which particular key can store the null value and which cannot. Let us see our option number C, which says we can have only one primary key in a table while we can have multiple unique keys. So option B would be, first of all, coming to option B, it would be incorrect. Why? Because they have mentioned the opposite thing. Primary key can store null value. No, primary key cannot store null value, whereas unique key can store null value. So this is actually the major difference that we have between primary key and the unique key. So this option number B would be incorrect because it is saying the opposite thing. Primary key cannot store null value while unique key can store null value. Now we have option number C, which says we can have only one primary key in a table while we can have multiple unique keys. That is absolutely correct. You can have one primary key in a table, but which will basically used to define a particular tuple or particular attribute that you're talking about, but unique key could be many. So if you're not clear with the concept of keys, we have an entire video on keys wherein we have covered each and every key with the help of an example. I suggest that you go through that video. It will be more than enough for you to understand the entire concept of keys, primary keys, candidate key, super key, everything we have explained in detail, and it won't take much of your time. So these basic concepts should be clear before you come on to answering the questions. And our last option is option number D, all of the above, which will obviously we'll reject that because option B is incorrect, option A is incorrect, and option D is also incorrect. So we are left with option number C, which says that we can have only one primary key in a table while we can have multiple unique keys. All right. So this is the difference between primary key and unique key. Let us move ahead to our next question, which is question number 9. Okay. So the question says a table employee has 20 records with attributes employee ID, name, designation, and salary. What will be the following SQL statement print? So our question one is, our statement is select count star. Count star is basically used to consider all the null values as well. So select count star from employee where salary is greater than all. Then we have a subquery which says select salary from employee. Okay, so this query will count the salary in the table which is greater than the maximum salary. So let us first talk about the all operator that we are using in the particular query. So the all operator will select all the tuples of the select statement, and our statement is salary, selecting salary from employee table. It is always preceded by a comparison operator. So we have a greater than a comparison operator as well. And it evaluates true if the subquery meets the condition. So the answer to this could be 1 or 0, right? So you can obviously eliminate the other options. It will be true if this particular query is satisfied. It will be false if this query is not satisfied. Now here if you see, the subquery will result false. Why? So, like you can see how can there be any salary greater than itself, right? So we are basically selecting the same salary from the employee table and we are saying that it is greater than all select salary from that particular table only. So that's the question, that how can there be any salary greater than itself, right? That means the condition is false. And now as you know, we represent true by 1 and false by 0. So the answer to this particular question would be 0. That is your option number C. So you can already eliminate, you have would have already eliminated 15 and 20 from the uh, options. Then you are left with 0 and 1, and as the statement is false, so your answer will be 0. Simple. See, just be clear with your basics. I can bet you no matter how big the company is or how complicated the question is, if your basics are clear, you are good to go. And for that, we have curated a whole playlist for you. You can just go through that playlist and you can sit for any of the interviews that you want. Right? Moving ahead to our question number 10. Thank you for all the patience that you're having. We are almost approaching to the end. Last few questions left and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so our question number 10 is, which statement is used to get all the data from the student table whose name start with S? If you remember, we have done this very similar question in our SQL data science interview preparation playlist. This is basically testing your knowledge of the like operator, right? We know the like operator is basically used for pattern matching, and we have done, I think, number of questions on like operator. So the percentage symbol in the syntax of like operator means zero or more characters next to where it will be used, whereas this underscore symbol, it is used to match exactly one character, right? So now if you see the options that we have, first you'll obviously reject the first option because there's no 2% sign, right? Because we just need to percentage sign will tell that zero or more characters next to where it will be used, but we are just already saying that the name starts from s, so there's no use of percentage sign before s, right? That is the first letter that we have, so obviously we are going to reject the first one. Then coming to second, it says S percentage. So yeah, this could be correct because S is defined. We know that it is starting with S, so it is correct. And percentage means there could be any number of characters after it, right? So this could be the correct answer. Then we have underscore S percentage. So why not underscore? Because it means that it is used to match exactly one character. But do we need to match exactly one character before S? I don't think so we need to, because our name is starting with S. There's no character before S. So this is obviously we are going to reject this. And then we have our last option which has percentage sign before S. But this could be correct if the question says that the name is ending with S. Then you can say that yeah, percentage any number of characters and s would be the last character that we have, then it would be correct. But it states that the name start with s, so the correct answer for this particular question will be option number B, which is s percentage, because s is fixed, because our name is starting from s, so x is fixed, and percentage means that zero or more characters next to where it will be used, right? So the answer for this particular question is question number B, option number B. All right, moving ahead to our question number 11. Okay, so this might look a bit complicated, but it is actually not. If you have seen the playlist that we have curated, you will, as soon as I'll read the question, you will be able to link what we are talking about. So we are given the statement: select A dot employee name, A dot salary, A dot department, B dot max salary from our employees table A, right? And we have given a temporary name A, and then we are selecting department ID, maximum salary from employees, and we are grouping by department ID. So this is the subquery that we are using, and we are mentioning that as B. Now we are saying that where A department ID is equal to B department ID, that means the department should belong from both the query and subquery, and the salary from the main query should be less than the max salary from the subquery that we are using. So if you read this particular query, and if you have seen the previous video, you would have guessed that this is like a modified version of your second highest salary, right? So let us see what all options do we have. Which of the following statement is correct? Our option A is the statement gives an error at line 1. I don't think so there's any error at line 1. We are just selecting the uh, we are just selecting the attributes that we have, so that is correct. There's no error. Then we are talking about statement gives an error at line 6. Statement gives an error at line 6, which is our line 6. Yeah, so we are basically talking about the last line that we have. So there's no error here as well. We are just saying that where A department ID should be equal to B department ID, and the salary of A, that is your initial parent query, should be less than the maximum salary from your subquery. So there's no error in that as well. Now coming to option number C, which says the statement produces the employee name, Yes. Salary, yes. Department ID, yes. And maximum salary earned in the employee department for all the departments that pay less, less salary than the maximum salary paid in the company. So this is our option number C. Might sound a little confusing here, but let's not get confused, and let us also see the third last option that we have, which says the statement produces the employee name, salary, department ID, and maximum salary. So till here they are absolutely the same. Earned in the employee department for all the employees who earn less than the maximum salary in their apartment. So there they are talking about paying, and here they are talking about earning. So obviously, like, I don't know if I need to explain this, but obviously we are talking about earning here and not paying. So it says the if you see option number C, it says departments that pay less salary. No, we are talking about departments. We are talking about employee from particular departments who earn salary less than the maximum salary in the department. That's what we are talking about. So without any confusion, the answer for this should be option number D. They could have really, if the options would have been a little different, this question could have been a little difficult to answer, but you could easily eliminate A, B, and C. A is obviously incorrect, B is also incorrect, C is also incorrect. We are not talking about paying here, we are talking about earning here. So option D is absolutely correct for this particular question, right? Moving ahead, so we are on to our last question. Thank you for all the patience till now. We are just going to solve the last question that we have, and then we are good to go, right? All right, so our last and question number 12. Let us see what we have. Right. So our question is, you need to compare two values. If both are equal, the result would be null. And if the values are not equal, then the first value should be returned. Which function would you use? So this is like one of the easiest question. If you know the basic functions of all these particular functions that are given in the options, you can just choose it, right? So let us first see what all options that we have, and let us see what defines, what suits the criteria. So first is our NVL. So NVL is basically used to convert null value to actual value, right? So NVL function has two expression 1 and 2. It basically has two parameters, where the first value is the expression, right, that may contain the null value. So expression 1 is basically the number or whatever expression that may contain the null value, and expression 2 is our target value. But here in this question we don't need to do any type of conversion. So we are going to neglect this particular option. We are not looking for any conversions. We are basically comparing two values. So NVL is going to not be the answer for this question. Then we have NVL2. So NVL2 basically has three expressions, if you know. So expression 1 is the source value, which may contain null values. Expression 2 is returned if expression 1 is not null, and expression 3 is returned if expression 1 is null. So basically here we are comparing three values, and if you read the first line of the question, it says that we need to compare two values. So we are going to reject this function as well, that is NVL2. If it would have been comparing three values, then this could have been the answer. Coming to null if, so a simple definition of this function is that it compares two expression. Okay, our first criteria is satisfied. Then it says if they are equal, the function returns null. If not, it will return the first expression. And yeah, that is exactly what has been asked in the question, and that is what the definition for null if is, right? So I think this sounds very much suitable to what we are looking for. Option number C, that is null if. And also let us see what our last function is, that is coalesce. So this function, it can basically take multiple values and return the first non-null expression in the list. So it examines the first expression. If first expression is not null, it returns that expression. So we are obviously going to reject that as well, because it basically works on multiple values and it works on the list basically. So the correct answer for this particular question will be null if, that is option number C, because it is absolutely defining the criteria that we are looking for, which is comparing two values. If both are equal, the result would be null. If the values are not equal, then the first value would be returned. Right? So the answer is C, option number C, that is null if. So congratulations, we are here at the end of the video. We have covered some of the most important questions, objective questions in SQL, and I hope this was a good learning experience. We haven't just answered the question, we have tried understanding the concept. If you're not I have tried explaining it. If you're even if you're not aware of some of the basic things, or if you have not watched our previous video, I have tried explaining this video so that you know that what exactly we are talking about here, and nobody is completely blank. So guys, that is it for the video. I hope this was helpful and worth the time. If you have any questions, or if you have any doubts, or if you still have a little, if you're a little skeptical about any of the questions that we have discussed, feel free to drop your question in the comment section below, and we'll be very happy to answer, and we'll get back to you. All right. So all the very best for your preparations. Keep following Data Monk for such a more interesting and you know important content that you need to have for your data science journey. Right. All the very best. Have a good day. Signing off. Thank you.